I've been thinking about this lately, and I thought it'd be a good topic, is the universe does not know the word wrong. The universe does not even know the word failure. The universe only focuses on is right, what's right in any moment, and it only knows the word right. That everything that is existing within you, everything you're experiencing, is something the universe created. And there's some, and everything is flowing from things that are happening that are more right, more flawless, and things that are happening that are less flawless, or more or closer to wrong, but they are still within the category of right. Because if if you think about it, if you are the universe, you are literally the divine, you are God experiencing what it's like to be in a body, and you created every moment that this body will experience. And so the things that happen in your life are right. No matter how right or wrong you feel like you did a moment, it was right. And whatever you got that was a little less right was just you learning. If you made a giant mess in your life, if you were friends with someone and realized they weren't a good friend and ended up moving on from that friendship, you were just learning how to be more discerning. You were learning what people work for you and what people don't work for you. And there's never anything that you are doing that's wrong. And oftentimes when we're raised, we are taught that a lot of the times that we are wrong, and it's an unconscious perspective of there's things that I'm doing that I'm wrong, and we are taught more to focus on what is wrong than what is right. And that's a way to keep our level of worth low enough to be easily controlled and manipulated by unconsciousness, because unconsciousness understands that the worse people feel about themselves, the more likely they will try and do anything to make them feel better, even if it's something that's instant gratification, but over time leads to people being heartbroken, over time leads them to having less life in their body, to feeling more numbed, checked out. And we learn that consciousness is only looking at what you do right. God does not judge you. God does not say, you are awful, you're the worst person. God is unfathomable forgiveness. God only notices when you get things right. And even when you are making a giant mess of your life, God is only looking at what's right in those moments. And God has that perspective because it understands that oftentimes the biggest mistakes in our life that we make are what inspire our greatest healing and what actually pushes us towards the light the fastest. And it's why there's such things as unconsciousness on this planet. It's why atrocious things happen on this planet every day. Because the harm that is caused to people, the hurt that is caused on people, makes people who are either witness that or who are involved in those experiences, if they survive it, to crave and desire healing. And healing and well-being is an energy of consciousness. And if you look at your life, oftentimes the things that inspired your greatest health, your greatest taking care of your body, your greatest level of well-being were the things that hurt you. Oftentimes were the things that hurt you once we move beyond from hiding from that pain and start facing it. And for me, like, I am someone who now I am incredibly loving. I'm incredibly kind. I take the best care of my body that I possibly can with the resources I have available, with the amount of money I have. I'm always looking to stand for, to the best of my ability, and I don't get it perfectly, of the greatest healing for myself and for others. And I got to this place of wanting to stand for healing, for wanting to care for my body so deeply, for wanting to love myself and love others more and more, because of all the pain I went through, because of all the amount of hurt and harm that happened while I was growing up, that happened, that I became fairly lost in high school, where I was lost in a technology addiction of constantly just trying to find anything to scroll or look at, constantly watching movies, constantly using pornography and over masturbating, and then having no energy and feeling completely worthless, and like my voice was completely taken from me in high school, and being scared of any new person entering my life, and being scared just to talk to people. That level of pain inspired me to start to search for healing, because I was barely functioning, and it really actually just inspired me to wake up and to start to serve myself and serve others better. And if we feel like we grew up maybe in a community, or maybe even with our parents, where we didn't really have the best role models, and while my parents did stuff that were really awesome and amazing, they also had some flaws and faults that definitely left some wounds within me. And everyone has good and bad qualities about themselves. But if we found we didn't really have the greatest role models in our life, can we become our own parent, and can we learn to parent ourselves how we wish we would have had the parents or the mentors growing up? And that's something, and it's what we learn from our pain is just calling out our greatest level of maturity, and our greatest level of, if this is what hurt me, can I do the opposite? Can whatever has been traumatic, abusive, can I do the opposite of whatever that experience was? If someone was projecting their emotions onto me regularly, can I have a rather amazing relationship with my emotions? If someone was over controlling, can I be able to allow people to be free in my presence? And that doesn't mean that maybe I'm in a polyamorous relationship, but can I be more detached in who leaves and who stays in my life? If I if I if I grew up and there wasn't a big prioritization on taking good care of our body, can that be what I focus on? And as I become different from the pain that hurt me, that pain is instantly healed out of me, because it can only stay in me when I'm like the version of myself that was hurt, or when I'm more like the people that hurt me. And as I become different than the people that hurt me, I instantly heal that pain. And it doesn't mean that we were hurt because we were like those people, but if someone projected their pain onto you, as we become different from the victim that survived that pain, and regain our power from that experience by doing everything we can to build the greatest well-being and empowerment and love within our body, that pain will instantly be healed, because we no longer will be like the past version of ourselves that survived that wound, that survived that incident. And what we learn is the unconsciousness that I endured is actually what pushed me into my greatest level of healing. It pushed me into my greatest level of service. And it's the true purpose of unconsciousness is accelerating the ascension of all of humanity. And if the pain on this planet was less intense, if there was less chaos and complication happening on this planet, if there was less hurt and harm, we would have the same patterns, but they would be played out much longer at a much less intense speed. And we learn that intensity is actually a gift. And if you had the choice of being super neurotic for 2 years or mildly neurotic for 10 years, most people would choose the super neurotic for 2 years, because then they had 8 years of being free from those patterns. And unconsciousness is what helps people move towards healing. And it doesn't mean we stay in abusive environments. It doesn't mean our healing journey only starts when we leave or remove ourselves from the situations, environments, people that hurt and harmed us. That is when our healing journey starts, and you can't start it being around people that are actively attacking you, actively hurting you regularly. And when you leave is when we then hold the perspective of, thank you for the pain I've survived. And that's a perspective usually after we've gotten through some of the darker parts of that healing journey. And we're allowed to take whatever journey we take to get to that point, whether that's 5, 10 years down the road of when, or 20 years down the road of when the original incident happened. We all have our own journey to this, and it's not something we have to force, but as we learn to face and feel our pain and use our pain as something that helps transform us into a more loving version of ourselves, or someone who's more gentle and more kind with ourselves, with others, someone that takes better care of their body and who tries to preserve the beauty and life in their body rather than constantly making choices that are stealing life from their body, is when we get to that place is when I'm kind of losing my train of thought, when we get to that place, we are then able to say thank you for our pain, because then we are in a place of remembering how that pain quickened our trajectory to wholeness as we started to face and feel it. And some people will go through experiences where they go their whole lifetime without really facing their pain, and they live in avoidance of whatever feels painful. And that is someone's own journey. And the journey we are all on, maybe we don't face our pain till, and if you're watching this, you're probably someone that has a good relationship with pain, but maybe we don't face our pain for another 5 lifetimes, and that is okay. And the universe doesn't get hard on you about it. The universe says you're just building up experiences to desire choosing something different, and the difference you would choose was learning to face and feel pain, learning to welcome pain, learning to welcome unconsciousness when we feel it rather than push it away, because unconsciousness is an energy of separate, alone, isolation. And it doesn't mean when we feel alone, we're feeling unconsciousness, but it is a thing. It is an energy that feels like it is separate from the whole, which is what gives it permission to then hurt the whole. And when you're relating to your pain from get away from me, trying to push it down, avoid it, stop from feeling it, or just relating to your emotions in that way, you are relating to what is already hurting within you, and you're piling on more hurt onto it because it is an energy that exists in separation, and you are relating to it from separation, which then just piles more and more hurt till that part of you, whether that's a feeling or just pain itself, takes you over. And this happens in subtly ways and many times, and it happens in more major ways, depending on how deeply we avoid and how much pain we are in. But our unconsciousness isn't, and it's something to welcome. And as we learn to welcome it, our inner child starts to take off its scary Halloween mask, and that the crying child that was just looking for love, looking for care when it received hurt, pain, and harm, opens up again in order to receive the love and welcoming energy you are sending to it, that helps soften our inner child and start to feel safe enough to grow more and more into the mature adult that we are either becoming or all are. And that happens through saying, thank you for my pain, thank you for unconsciousness, thank you for how I was hurt. And while it was not okay, I now see the gift of how it inspired my greatest healing, my greatest growth, and actually moved me into a far more mature, loving, responsible, empowered version of myself than if I had ever, than if that had never happened in the first place. And for me, like, I'm someone that is dedicated to serving love, to serving well-being. I'm someone that prays every day. I'm someone that connects with my guides and angels every day. And I am someone, and I only got to this place because of the pain I was in. And if I was not as hurt as deeply, I probably would not be I would not probably not have a desire at all to be any type of healer. I probably would have ended up being and maybe some type of scientist or some type of business person. But because of the pain I endured and went through, it woke me up to, there's so many more people hurting on this planet that could use more healing. And why don't I, if I want to people not to be hurt how I was hurt, why don't I become the change and see how much of an impact I can make? And the only reason why I make these YouTube videos is because of how deeply I was hurt, not how well my life went or how golden of a child I was. And the demons, the darkness, the unconsciousness on this planet, who they really serve, whether they're aware of it or not, is the archangels. And the archangels walk with you through every moment, and they will allow, when pain or harm or abuse happens to you, a lot of times it is allowed because they understand whether you face this pain in this lifetime or 5 lifetimes down the road, the pain you go through is what awakens you to love. It's what moves you into, I will stand for the greatest healing because I know what it's like to be hurt, and I don't want to see other people go through the pain that I went through. And our guides walk through us with every moment. And if we need help finding ourselves out of a situation, we can ask for their help or ask for them to help us move us into a different environment. But they walk with you not necessarily to protect you from pain, but to help you become the best version of yourself once you've survived that pain. And that is a different perspective than most people will that most ego structures maybe would like, or most people would think. That God created your whole life and it wrote the parts that were the most painful as well as the parts that were the most awesome. Nothing happens outside of your life without God's approval. Nothing happens that is wrong. Everything is flawless, and the deepest hurt is what inspires the deepest growth into love, even if it's 2 lifetimes down the road. Even if you spent 5 lifetimes lost in addiction, those 5 lifetimes would then inspire you to be incredibly committed to sobriety. And God understands that you're learning. It doesn't judge you for how long it takes you to heal, or how long it takes you to forgive, or how long it takes you to become a different version of yourself. God just says, thank you for being willing to take the journey. Even if you can't face this right now, thank you for continuing to move forward and to be alive and to feel your breath, because I just love life experiencing you. And I love when you make mistakes and make giant messes in your life. And I love when you get it all flawlessly. And God lives from unconditional love, and it even loves the unconsciousness. It loves the tragedy, not because it thinks it's okay, but because it understands every tragedy that happens on this planet brings people closer together, helps people who either experience it or witness it go, how can I make a difference so this happens much less on this planet? And God understands that unconsciousness will birth heaven on earth far quicker than it would happen if there was less unconsciousness on this planet. And it doesn't mean that it's okay, and it doesn't mean we stay in abuse, but if we are someone that's not actively being abused, The question is, how can I help? And if people are going to be this committed to harming people or darkness or hurting or persecuting minorities or even killing people or raping people, how much more can I be committed to love? How much more can I be committed to helping those around me? How much more can I be committed to kindness and gentleness and care for myself and for others? And that is what, in the moment we all learn to love ourselves, is the moment unconsciousness leaves this planet, because we don't have anything left to learn from it. And even if we just took and even just taking your hand to your heart and going, I love you exactly as you are, is not just sending love to your heart, but it's sending love to all hearts. And as we learn to welcome unconsciousness and say thank you for unconsciousness, our choices become more and more conscious, because consciousness recognizes the gift of unconsciousness and it welcomes it back into love. It doesn't judge it, it doesn't hate it. It lives in endless forgiveness. And can we be that forgiving with the parts of ourselves that think crazy thoughts, with the parts of ourselves that love to fantasize about who we could date next, who we could have sex with, what type of future we could experience, even though we're not taking any steps towards that future? Can we be loving and forgiving of those thoughts? Can we be loving and forgiving of our pain? Can we be loving and forgiving of the people in our past? And sometimes it might take a long time to reach forgiveness with certain people, and that is okay. But the moment we choose to face and feel our pain and to grow from our pain rather than regret our past is the moment it becomes a lot easier to be grateful and forgiving of the past we've survived. So I hope that helps, and thank you for listening.